Welcome to the MegaTeam Mastermind podcast, the ultimate resource for real estate team leaders who want to take back their time, scale their profit, and love their business again. I'm your host, John Tiller. For almost 25 years, I've been building real estate teams with a focus on making an impact and leaving a legacy. And I want to help you to do the same. In each episode, we have dynamic conversations with industry powerhouses, mega team leaders, coaches, and other thought leaders who are shaping the future of real estate teams. You'll discover the secrets to effective leadership and team building so that you can leverage your business to make an impact and to leave a legacy, all without sacrificing your family. This podcast is brought to you by MegaTeamMentor.com, where you can get a free detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. That's MegaTeamMentor.com for your free real estate team health assessment. Now, let's get started on the journey of growth, impact, and legacy building with today's episode. Welcome back to the MegaTeam Mastermind podcast, where we interview successful real estate team leaders who will inspire you by sharing real-world stories of success and failure, building profitable real estate teams that both make an impact and leave a legacy. I'm your host, John Tiller, and today we've got two rock star sisters joining us from British Columbia, Canada. We've got Shannon and Tamara Stone, who are both second-generation real estate agents who have formed the Stone Sisters, a boutique brokerage in Kelowna, British Columbia, about 4 hours outside of Vancouver. Combined, they have almost 50 years of real estate experience in their own generation, in addition to their parents being in real estate. They have lifetime home sales that are extraordinary. Right now, they're selling about 3 to 350 homes per year with a team of about 11 agents at an average sales price of around $1 million. Shannon and Tamara, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
Thank you so much, John.
Yeah, so glad to have you here. Well, listen, that's super impressive. There's a lot. You've got a big backstory there. Tell me, fill in the blanks a little bit for me about your story from growing up with parents in real estate to making the decision to get into it on your own, and then maybe joining together and where you are today. Just walk us along that journey of your story.
Well, Tamara and I talk about this all the time, that we truly did grow up in a real estate family. I mean, we used to lick our dad's envelopes for all his mail outs. That was going back. He started in the business in the 70s. So through the 80s, he was involved when interest rates went skyrocket, 18%, and sending his mail outs and doing all those things. We were the kids wearing the t-shirts and supporting him from a young that we would evolve into becoming into the industry. Tamara knew that she was wanting to be a realtor much before I did. And Tamara started when she was quite young. I'm her sister, so I can mention, Tamara starting when she was, Tamara, how old were you? 22 when you got licensed?
22.
21?
Yeah.
So 22. And this was back in a time where it was really an old school, boys club to a degree. So here's this young girl getting her license, the youngest realtor by far, joining in and working alongside my dad. And our dad said when Tamara started, I'll train you, I'll help you, but you're not going to ride our coattails, sort of thing. And so I'll never forget Tamara coming to pick me up at school. I was at that point in high school, and Tamara came to pick me up with her new shiny red adult car and wanting to show me. And I looked at her and I was like, okay, so Tamara, what happened? She had long, beautiful hair before. She was your typical 20-year-old. And all of a sudden she came to pick me up at school in this adult mom car kind of thing, 4-door, with her hair chopped super short, she looked older then than she does now. And she just knew that she had to be professional and change how she looked to be able to relate to clients. So that was a start for her.
Yeah. Yeah, mom and dad trained me. So our dad and our mom were realtors. And as Shannon said, when I got in, they actually discouraged me when I told them that I was going to get my license. As Shannon said, they didn't want me riding coattails. They didn't want me choosing an easy path. They really wanted me to go and finish my education. I had 2 years towards a basket weaving degree. They wanted me to finish that, and I was just uninspired and wasn't doing it. I said, no, I really want to do this. And they said, great, okay, it won't be easy. And as Shan said, and totally fell flat on my face and didn't sell anything for 5 months.
Wow. So just from there.
I think what the mistake I made is I was trying to be like my mom and dad. Our mom was never a diehard, force in real estate. She enjoyed it. She enjoyed the people, but mom's perfect world was get one client, work hard and sell their house, sell them something else, and then take a little break. Like, she really, really loved the people and didn't necessarily love the high pressure or what have you. But, dad loved the high pressure. When I got in, I thought, okay, I'm going to be the best of mom and the best of dad and do this. When I got in, I was trying to be them. They were in their late 50s, I guess, or mid 50s. I was trying to emulate them. As Shannon said, driving a 4-door sedan car that I thought was red, but it was a sale, so it was purple. It's the ugliest car in the world. Getting a huge suit that I wouldn't dream of wearing today because, shoulder pads out to there. Chopped my hair, got my first dark lipstick, and I was 22 going on 45, and now I'm 50 going on 22 if at all possible.
Well, that was the model. That was the expectation, right? That was what you had seen done.
Yeah.
So we actually have in our launch series of this podcast, we have another brother and sister, another set of siblings who are second generation, who actually took over or are integrating into their parents' team. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are second generation agents who are thinking about either, should I start my own team or should I join with my parents? Or maybe I did decide to get into real estate with my parents. I want to get into a leadership role, but not sure if I want to carry their mantle or start my own. In their case, they are carrying the existing team forward. It sounds like you guys had started a new team. Tell me about that, and tell me about the pros and cons and what it went into your decision to do that.
Honestly, I would have loved to have carried on mom and dad's business. And, they were at a phase in life where they were sort of winding down, but they really didn't want me to. After I stopped trying to be just like them and finding my own groove and so on. And this is 1995, so it's a long time ago. We really didn't have the internet even for real estate or what have you. So once I figured out who I was and who I could relate to, then I was doing my own thing. We branded together, and I think there was great value in that. Dad was established and experienced, and he got the energy and enthusiasm of youth, and I got his name. But he abruptly one day just said, okay, that's it, I'm done. He'd been withdrawing for years. So 4 years after I got in, he quit the business abruptly one day. We didn't ever get his database. He kept saying for years, he's like, yeah, we'll give you the database. Sure, it's on my computer, I'll do that. But we did never get it. So it was sort of forced rather, and teams weren't big then. That wasn't really done. So until Shannon came in and she shook everything up. And
tell me about that.
So Tamara was always on, not on my case, but always saying, hey, you should become a realtor. And I never thought truly, even though we did deal with real estate all through growing up and everything else, I never thought, it wasn't in the back of my mind that, okay, I'm going to be a realtor. I did go and get my degree in business. I wanted to have my own marketing company. That's what I focused on in school. And I worked for a few different companies in marketing, and that's the direction that I thought I would go. And Tamara, meanwhile, in the background, all through me going to school and everything else, was like, you should join me. You should become a realtor. You should become a realtor. And then I think she finally gave up. That's when I thought, well, maybe I should become a realtor. So we joined together, and same idea as when Tamara started. Tamara said, we'll work together, do the same thing with what our dad did for her. And for 6 months, you kind of be in my back pocket and I'll train you. And then after that, you go on your direction and I'll go on mine, and we'll see from there. And I think, truly the 6 months flew by and went really well. We had a lot of fun. And so we decided at that point to become officially the Stone Sisters. And that's when it was formed, was after that.
When was that 6 months? What year was that?
Oh, I got in 19 years ago, I guess. So
2005.
2005. Okay. So Shannon, you had been for a decade at that point and had learned the ropes. And that's kind of also when teams were becoming more of a thing as we went into the mid 2000s and beyond. So you joined together, marketing background. Tamara, you had been in for 10 years, and Shannon, you brought in the marketing background. kind of 10 years later and built this brand. And that was the beginning of the Stone Sisters brand. Is that when
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So tell me about, I think we're starting to understand a little bit about that from each of you now, but tell me about your superpower. Like, what's Tamara's superpower? What's Shannon's superpower? How do they merge together well? And where do you stay in your own lane and the other kind of stay out of?
That's such a good question. I'm pretty scattered. I definitely would have ADHD. So I like to swim in all lanes of the pool. You know, they have the swim lanes and I want to go sideways and I enjoy ducking up and down and in between them all. It drives my
Something flashy.
It drives Shannon a bit crazy, but you know, as we evolve and as I'm closing in on 30 years in the business, I think my superpower would be connecting really well with people. I'm very good at remembering names. I'm really good at clicking with people and finding out what makes them tick and how to make them feel heard and special. I love that. I love the people part of this more than anything. I'm not great with systems. I'm not great with all of the, you know, those elements that are crucial, critical, and becoming more important as time goes on and as our business grows and as the industry evolves. Shannon, what's your superpower?
Yeah, and I would have to say, you know, for Tamara is great at working a room. Like if going in and connecting with those people, as she said, remembering names and that sort of thing. And I try all those tricks to remember everybody's name and I can fake it pretty well. So I do love the people side of the business. I love helping people. I love sitting down with the client and finding out what their needs are and making that a reality. Now becoming a team leader with having our team, the same thing. I love meeting with our agents, finding out what their goals are and getting excited for them and trying to reach those goals. You know, that one-to-one sort of connection. But I also do like the marketing side of it. You know, I love thinking of an ad that we're going to do and then be involved in creation of that ad. And, you know, when I first started, I think one of the things that we sort of looked at in the business was, okay, real estate's done this way. You know, you hold an open house on a Sunday and you run flyers and you do these things. And I came in and said, well, just because it's always been done that way, do we need to keep doing it that way? Like, let's change it, you know. And I started taking in some of the skills I learned in some of the other marketing jobs that I've had. And we kind of shook things up from a marketing side. And that's what I try to look at all the time in our systems and our marketing. So from an operations point of view, as well as looking, going, okay, just because we're doing it this way, is this the most effective?
Yeah.
And that would probably be my superpower, I guess, if I had one.
That's really amazing. So give me an example of that where, you know, just because we've always done it is not the reason why we should keep doing it that way. And you kind of came in and shook things up. Give me maybe a recent example or just an example that comes to mind of what's been effective for you when you took some risk and did things maybe the way that everybody else wasn't doing it.
A couple examples. One would be, you know, we started when I joined, we knew that lots of buyers were interested in Kelowna. We're sort of a resort town where we've grown a lot, but we are a destination location. You know, we've been deemed a little bit of kind of Canada's Hawaii in a sense. It's sunny here. We're a four-season playground. We've got great wineries, golf courses, beaches. So it's a beautiful spot to vacation and a beautiful spot to come and live. And so we knew that. And it was, instead of marketing the standard way of going in flyers and doing mail outs and that sort of thing, we decided, okay, well, let's take our listings to those markets that we know buyers are coming from. And so instead of just sending a flyer out or what have you, we actually talked to our sellers, we created some information, and we went on the road with our properties. So one experience that we had, we went up to a town called Fort McMurray, which is an oil and gas community in Canada here, and not a huge community, very, very much redneck-ish, I guess, if I can say that. But sure, yeah. And so we go up there and we're used to, typically we wear, Tamara's wearing white and I'm wearing white underneath, but typically we do wear white all the time. That's our brand. And, you know, we had a client that was up there and he helped us and he said, don't come to town wearing your white suits. Like, it's not fancy here. You know, we had done this in the past, renting out a hotel room and inviting clients to come and promote the Okanagan and Kelowna listings. And this time we did it at Boston Pizza. We did it at 9 o'clock at night because everybody works late in shifts. We wore jeans and a totally different way of marketing, but we sold properties because we took our information, took our listings and brought it right to the consumer and made it really easy for them to transact and made it really easy for us to be able to promote and sell the Okanagan and Kelowna.
That's brilliant. I bet that's an amazing listing competitive advantage also when you sit in front of a seller and say, listen, we're not just sticking a sign in the yard and praying that it sells. Here's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's been incredible. We're fortunate. Our town is about a little under 150,000 people. And we are known, without question, we're really known as the office, the girls, the sisters that do market out of town. And we were at an event yesterday, a Chamber of Commerce luncheon, and two different people are like, oh, so where's your next show? Where are you guys going? And our marketing has us with an airplane. It's, as Shannon's saying, it's not the typical normal marketing. We're constantly looking, and I'll say Shannon's constantly looking at, okay, what's Apple doing? Let's look at the placement of cereal boxes on the shelves at the grocery store, and what are they doing that's different? Because how can we implement that into our business and stay ahead of the game and not follow, but really try and lead.
I love it. I love it. Well, talking about leading and how you lead, tell me about we were talking before we got on about brokerage laws in British Columbia and how they've changed a little bit in BC. And tell me about how the technical, high level, technically how your team is set up. But then practically how your relationship with your broker, what broker that is and what.
So in British Columbia in 2018, they made a ruling that there would be no more double lending. So a realtor was not able to represent both a buyer and a seller. And we thought, well, that'll be okay because we're a team. So Shannon could list something and one of the other agents that works on our team would have been able to represent a buyer. And we didn't ever, Shannon and I together would not have represented a buyer and a seller. And we always had a firewall, if you will, of the way the information or the agents that worked with us wouldn't know if somebody was getting divorced or if they bought something else. We really did maintain that confidentiality. Sure. When this rule came through, at first they just said one person can't represent both sides. And we thought that'll be no problem because we've got lots of us. And then they said, no, a team is deemed to be the exact same as one individual. And that changed it a lot, particularly because of all the out-of-town marketing. We do sell a number of our properties. We are able to sell in-house, if you will, because we go and find those buyers in Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, wherever they are. And suddenly we weren't able to represent both sides. So we tried, we took somebody off the team, tried that sort of just we're a very tight-knit sort of family, if you will, of agents that we work with. So then we tried finding somebody who didn't work with us, and we'd say, okay, we've got a buyer quite keen on a property. We'd show that property because I believe our duty to our sellers is to promote and actually sell something. So we'd find another agent and say, okay, this buyer's really keen. We can no longer write the offer. Could you do it? And most of the time that agent would write the offer and sell the house. But sometimes they didn't. And they'd say, you want to pay how much for this house? And I know something else in a different area. And, effectively that sale would be lost. So abiding by the rules.
Oh, I was just going to, sorry. And then those clients were gone. So you generate a client for a property or what have you. And then that client's technically gone elsewhere.
And it would literally kill the deal. And the client didn't get what they wanted either one of them.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure.
So abiding by the rules in our province, teams were considered one person, but a brokerage was not. And we were at a big office called Remax Kelowna. We're still affiliated with Remax Kelowna, but we did buy a franchise, had to negotiate and navigate doing that because they didn't want a whole bunch of sub brokerages or small offices. But came to an agreement with the gentleman who owns Remax Kelowna, and we're able to open up our own sub-brokerage. So now we're Remax Kelowna Stone Sisters. The team is just Shannon and I. The other 11 agents are all independent contractors at Stone Sisters. We still have those firewalls. Todd isn't able to review the file of a listing that Sheila has. You have to abide by that and protect the confidentiality of your clients. But Shannon and I are able to oversee the marketing and as a brokerage, generate inquiries and interest on a home while maintaining that protection for the sellers and buyers.
Excellent. Excellent. So a unique technical challenge that you guys have. And in a practical way to handle it for sure. What has made you, there are lots of options for brokerages. What has made you stay in the Remax world as you've transitioned through these legal changes?
Mhm.
Great question. So we wanted something that has a name. And Remax, all you need to do in our minds is share that balloon, put that balloon on something, and people know you're a realtor. And especially because we are traveling out of town, we do a lot of promotions and marketing with that out of town market. Locally, we're pretty known. But if we're going to go into a new market in Alberta, the province next to us, or something like that, it's a lot harder to convey that we're a realtor with this, something of it, maybe a different brand, whereas the Remax balloon just conveys, okay, they're realtors. We know what they do. So that's one obstacle already overcome.
And we do a tremendous amount of referral business. We navigated well when we moved over to Remax. So I had been at a small company when Shannon joined up in 2005 as part of her sort of shake-up. And she just said, okay, we need a big recognized company. We need a force behind us. It was 2005. The market was decent, really took off a few years later. But, we received comments like, oh, wow, okay, you guys are at Remax now, like that. That's a good company. Now, fast forward 19 years, we have built some tremendous referral relationships and partnerships, if you will, with agents in big centers across the province or across the country that really opens up doors. We can go walk into an office in downtown Toronto, Canada's biggest city, and feel welcomed and have an immediate audience to showcase our properties.
Excellent, excellent. So brand recognition just really seems like it's a catalyst for you. And then, of course, the broker takes some of that liability for you also, and is kind of on your team helping you with
Absolutely.
all the compliance side. Well, that's great. That's excellent. So when we talk to team leaders, when I talk to team leaders, I generally find them when it comes to planning, they're on a spectrum somewhere. I have team leaders who have very successful businesses, generally with big personalities, if they're on this side of the spectrum, that don't have a business plan. They have a great personality. They know what makes them feel good right now, and they just do more of that. And they have built a brand and a business off of that, but they are just, where 2024 and 2025 takes me, it'll take me where it takes me. And then I have team leaders who will build business plans that are 10 years or more out, that are very detailed. And then in between, I have some that are just on a paper napkin, somewhere in between. I have a 5-year plan, but it's on a paper napkin and, you can bullet the list. Where do you guys fall in that? And what does your future and what do your goals look like for the Stone Sisters?
Awesome.
Yeah,
question, Shannon.
Yeah. So for us, we're not as set as and organized as a 10-year plan with everything detailed perfectly out. That being said, our overall goals, we meet once a year, we do a business plan, we sit down, analyze our business of where we've been and where we want to go. And because I think you need to look at where you've been to know where to go. And so we analyze that every single year. We meet quarterly to review that to make sure that we're on track. And, looking at sort of our overall goal is, of course, to grow. And our goal would be to grow 1% to 2% in market share for our central Okanagan, for our area that we sell in every year. So if we look at that and we can go, okay, 1% to 2% from where we are today, we know where we want to be 5 years, 10 years. But, we don't have a detailed plan that's necessarily that 10-year written out commitment of every task that's going to be.
But you do, that's very interesting. So you do have a measurable goal, though, of 1% to 2% market share. That's pretty aggressive. We're not talking about 1% to 2% growth. We're talking about taking 1% to 2% market share. That's pretty amazing. Tell me about where you're at today and where you saw the biggest growth. The last 3 years have been pretty variable for a lot of teams and agents and have had different successes. So tell me about since 2020, say 2021, tell me about your business and what the ebbs and flows have been, and then where you're at in market share now as you look to grow at 1% to 2% a year.
Yeah, so right now we're sitting at 6% market share. Next year we're wanting to grow, of course, that 1% to 2%. Realistically, given the market conditions that we are, it may be closer to that 1, but we'll see. Where we were in 2021, market share, we were sitting at, I think, about 5%. So We've kind of grown that 2% over the last, it's taken us more than one per year, but our market was exploded over, once we had the COVID period. It was really quiet. Of course, when COVID happened, we both sat there and said, okay, what's going to happen? We, like all of us, we had no business suddenly overnight. We had like product on our shelves, basically is what we had. And then all of a sudden, almost as though a complete shift overnight again. And our market was just on fire for a good year and a half, almost 2 years, like everybody sort of, I think, across really North America it was. But especially because we're in a destination location, our market really exploded. And then now we're leveling back into a balanced market. We're now, when we look at the overall market, we're in a buyer's market, but we're more balanced in our numbers, more looking at sales volume and the market overall conditions comparable to like 2019, I would say. Hey, Tamara, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I think probably like a lot of your listeners will be able to relate to when everything. I was actually listening to a podcast this morning of an agent in our marketplace who got in 2020, halfway through 2020, and experienced great success. And she's like, it was incredible. Like, this is so good. And then because with the market picking up, everybody got into real estate. And, now as things have softened and our market's more challenging, we're starting to see the number of licensed realtors declining, which is good, respectfully. And I'd love everybody to do well. But, I know we alone, I think it was in 2022 that we had 11 past clients or acquaintances, like people on our database, get their real estate license. And we actually have one licensed realtor for every 138 people in our region. So we are
That's incredible.
saturated. Yeah, they say Kelowna is where realtors come to die. And it's, because so even if you only sell 1 or 2 homes a year, great flexibility and no boss and all the rest of it. But we actually, of course, we love a robust, busy market. But you really have to show your skill set. You have to be an extraordinary marketer. You have to be sharp on your pricing. You have to negotiate like the best of them in the kind of market that we're in order to sell. Less than 10% of what's listed is selling month over month. And so getting listings right now isn't difficult. Selling them is very difficult.
Wow. That's very interesting. And I think it's also very informative for a lot of our other markets in North America.
Mhm.
They haven't shifted, but vacation markets, they kind of tend to lead the way, right? Destination markets like yours tend to lead the way. Well, I also love that you are measuring market share, because what you're doing is you're doing better than most of us who we like to measure all those other key performance indicators, right? Like, hey, my sales grew by, whatever percent, or my volume grew, or my number of homes grew, my family served, a lot of us call it. But what market share does is that keeps you honest, because it actually sets you apart from the market and says, hey, how are we doing compared to our competition? And are we growing compared to our competition? And it's a brilliant metric. And I love that it seems to be at least one of, if not your top indicator to keep you honest about what you're doing. And it would be very easy to decrease market share, and increasing it is not easy. So leadership is, John Maxwell, leadership expert, says that everything rises and falls on leadership, right? And leadership is hard. And so tell me about why you ladies chose to be team leaders and not just have the 2 of you. So you're leaders of a brokerage. You have 11 agents that are working in this boutique brokerage. You could have just had the 2 of you and admin help working in the brokerage. Why choose leadership? Why do the hard work involved in leadership?
It is hard. There's no question. There are days that you just wring your hands and just go, okay, Shannon and I, we're close. We're sisters. We're families. We're best friends, or she's my best friend. So it makes it easy. I have no question that she's going to do things right. I don't question the work ethic or the integrity or anything else. And, when we started to form the team, there was more business than we could handle. And we were dropping balls. So we started like a lot of people. We had an administrator, and then we had one realtor, and then it grew and it grew. Now at the stage of our careers, I think it's so incredible to see agents who work with us who weren't flourishing on their own. We typically don't hire brand new realtors. We like agents who understand how hard it is to get that phone to ring, to get a lead, to make contact and a connection with someone. And then seeing them go from, not doing that well. We had one agent a few years ago who just said, "Wow, girls, thank you so much." It was Christmas Eve. And the agent said, for the first time in my adult life, I'm able to provide all the gifts I want for my family, and we're away, and all the food we want. Like, they hadn't been doing well at all. And seeing them succeed and flourish and able to go on holidays or get into their first home or buy their dream car, whatever it is. I don't know that there's a better feeling, actually. It's really amazing seeing them embody the principles that our mom and dad taught us from the time we were little kids to into our careers, and sharing that is really cool.
I love that. I have a friend who says that in my life, I want to see my fruit grow on other people's trees. And to watch that happen, I think that's been my favorite thing in leadership also. I think that's what gets a lot of us out of bed in the morning. That's the biggest impact we can make is on those people around us. But yeah, it is hard. So share with me the biggest leadership lesson that you've learned. Let me put it in a different way. Let me ask you to share the biggest leadership win that you've had and the biggest leadership lesson that you've had.
I think the biggest lesson for me anyway that I've learned is really to let go. I think it's hard to let go. It's hard to suddenly say, here, you can do as good of a job, maybe a better job than I can do, and let them go on their own and do that and get out of the way. And I think that was the biggest thing, was just getting out of the way and letting, our admin team as well, our admin group, and all of our agents really succeed and be the best that they can be, and just move into a role of supporting them and getting out of the way, thinking that, okay, these people, they need us. Well, no, they don't need us. They just need to sell their home for the best price or buy the house for the best price for them. And they just need really, really good value in the whole experience. And so we can assist those agents. And I think that's been the biggest lesson, was just getting out of the way, trusting those around us. And I think the biggest win that we had, would, like the story Tamara just shared, is having those, and we've had that numerous times from our agents, just saying, wow, thank you so much. I'm able to succeed now. And I think that's been, for me anyway, that's been the biggest win, is to see their success.
Biggest fail, getting the wrong, with specifics. I think bringing the wrong people on and perhaps not protecting our culture the way we should have. We learned our lessons. We have a phenomenal group right now. It's a tight-knit, good group. We're very careful with who we bring on and learning to getting better at letting people go. But, the market was crazy. We brought some people on, not really trusting our gut feelings, and just thought, well, they're going to be pretty good. And I think we had two different people. Well, we had more than two, but we had a few people who were like, it's probably going to be okay, right? And we both had that little niggly feeling that maybe it wasn't going to be that great, and it really wasn't great. Our egos took a hit, our brand took a hit, the culture of our office really started to become eroded because we had the wrong people on the bus. And then we didn't have the courage to just say, you know what, this isn't working. Like, you've got to go. We just kept hoping magically that things would get better.
And that's a really good point, is, hiring, being careful to who we bring on. And that's something we've really learned, and letting them go quickly. If you get that feeling and they're not right, follow your gut.
Like we've learned, it's important to wear a skirt or pants when you're going to do an open house, not just a long t-shirt. That was one good lesson. And it's important to be selling clients. Yeah, sell real estate, not other things like yourself when you're showing homes and some of these.
Well, so there's a spectrum, and I love these are the things I know that people listening are thinking, yes, that's me. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But let's get into a little bit of so you have that experience and you have that challenge. How do you generate the courage to fire quickly? And maybe you had the courage was just, hey, I don't want to do that again. But tell me systematically, what's a fair way? I mean, you don't want to take somebody who just came in, and maybe you did make a bad hiring decision, but at the end of the day, you got to take some responsibility. As leaders, we have to take some responsibility for that. And so maybe we're going to have to coach this person more than we think. But where is the line between what you can coach, what you can't coach? How do you determine that? And then how do you let them go quickly? What's the process that you follow?
We normally now have a rule of kind of 3 strikes, you're out. And I think we sort of look and go, is that a skill that we can train, or is that your ethical makeup? Is that who you are? And if that's who you are and it doesn't jive well with our ethics and our integrity, then that's a quick decision. That's an easy one. If it's something that we can train, if it's a skill, we can train skills. We can train someone to talk better to clients, to write a better email or respond faster. We can train some of those things, but you can't change someone's ethical, moral standards.
Man, that's so good. So I filled in a little bit of a blank, but 3 strikes for if it's skills, you're going to get 3 strikes. Like, we're going to coach you. We're going to say, hey, this isn't working. We're going to coach you up. Hey, it's not working again. If you can't make it work the 3rd time, you can't work with us anymore. And but I'm here. Like, I'm here for you. I'm on your team. I'm coaching you. I'm cheering for you. But then the ethical issue is just, hey, you know what? You'd make a great fit across the street at the brokerage across the street. And it's just a 1 strike for that. Yes. Is that fair to say that's kind of how that works for you guys?
100%.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, listen, I could talk to you guys like all day long. We've just kind of broken the surface here, but I want to get into, before we wrap up, I want to get into a couple of things. We'd like to focus on impact and legacy in this podcast. And it's not just about the numbers. It's not just about achieving the sales. It's not just about buying the big house, the destination house, the mountain house and the beach house and the boat and everything that you want for your family. All those things certainly do and can contribute when done in a healthy way, can contribute to long-term legacy. But tell me about what you're most proud of that you and your team are doing to make an impact in your community.
Shannon, I'm going to let you answer.
Yeah, this is a good question. So we do a few different things throughout the year. We do scholarships through the college. So we do that. We help numerous families at Christmas time, and we give back to the community. We help the homeless here in our area. We do a lot of different incentives in that regard. We sponsor also as well. I'm a huge hockey mom and a hockey advocate. So we sponsor a lot of different hockey teams in that regard too. I think also too, for me, the biggest legacy that I would love to leave behind or have or impact is really on those that are in our work family, we like to call them. How we can help those agents be successful and provide for their families and be in a position where they can give back to those things that are important to them, whether that's their baseball team, whether that's volunteering on a committee or donating or what have you, but being able to instill that leadership in them so that they're in a position to also give back to what's important to them. So that for me is what keeps me going every single day.
So good. Tamara?
I would say, and we're not only women that work at Stone Sisters. We have 18 of us all together. So we have 4 men. But I feel very proud of the fact that we have some powerful women. We've really helped women rise up the ranks. The discrepancy still in 2024, the fact women making less and having less or what have you, really sort of empowering and embodying, okay, you can't have it all. Work-life balance, I think, is a fallacy. I think it's impossible. You're working too much or you're not working enough and you're with your kids too much. There is no such thing. You do your very best. But I'm most proud of seeing, we have 2 licensed realtors who started in admin and didn't have a lot of education, didn't come from high-paying jobs, came in and learned the ropes and are now out selling and flourishing. And it's just seeing women stand together and be forces I love it. It absolutely lights me up.
That is amazing. And I love that the guys are on your team too, but they obviously, sometimes I think in cultural issues like this, I think there are predetermined notions about how guys feel. You're talking to a guy who was raised by a 1970s feminist. And my mom, she went through a lot of difficult things. And it's so funny. I share exactly the same passion. And on my team, some of the best stories are women who generally were told you can't do this. And many times they were dependent on a man who let them down. and they now are, and they've been told they can't be independent or they can't flourish or they'll only ever have a small salary job. And then you bring them into real estate and coach them to believe in themselves. And there is, I'm not saying there's no glass ceiling in real estate, but it's a lot thinner than glass ceilings in a lot of other places. Because if they're willing to work hard, and the truth is that this is an emotion-based business, right? That it is. So it's actually more geared toward women because women are generally, of course, not, you never say always, never say never, always, whatever. So yeah, it's not always the case, but generally it is a business geared toward women, and being able to empower them as team leaders, especially ones who come from backgrounds like that, is amazing. Seems like the two of you are modeling that in your community, and people all around your community and beyond are looking to you for that. Real quick, wrap up questions. Reading, and what are you reading and listening to right now?
Okay, I'm reading, which is an old one, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Listening to it. I listen to business books. I think I'm the opposite of Tamara. I listen to my business books. I read fictions. And I just finished for a second time, the Ryan Serhant, Sell It Like Serhant. I love his books. They're so good, great energy and great little tips to share with our agents too.
Yeah. And Shannon and I are the opposite because I love business books. I'm actually reading again. Someone reminded me of it. The best business book, in my opinion, is called 4 Disciplines of Execution. Just how to, 40X. I love it. Like love it. So I read it and then read it again. I can't listen to those sort of books because I want to take notes and fold the page and highlight. And so I've got it on my night table, just reading through that again. But I joined a book club for the first time in my life and just finished a fabulous novel called The Women, all about the Vietnam War. And it's historical fiction. It's on the bestseller list right now, but really good book. Again, women and the strength that women can have, and then the realities of war, Vietnam War. We got lots of wars going on, and I don't want to keep my head in the sand about that. So
so good. Well, Tamara and Shannon, thank you for joining us on the show. You are powerful lady leaders, and thank you for giving more of us the opportunity to take a peek inside your business and your thinking as leaders. You're going to help a lot of people with this. If people wanted to reach out to you, where could they find you? Where's the best place to find you?
On our website, so stonesisters.com. And we're on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Stonesisters.com and Facebook and Instagram also. You guys are going to crush those market share goals that you have, undoubtedly. Thank you again for being on the show. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. Thank you.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the MegaTeam Mastermind. I hope you found some nuggets of wisdom that you can use to leverage your real estate team to make an impact and to build a legacy. A huge thank you to our incredible guest and, of course, to our sponsor, MegaTeamMentor.com, where you can get a free detailed assessment of your real estate team's health, including a free customized scorecard that will quickly and objectively diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of your real estate team business. That's MegaTeamMentor.com for your free real estate team health assessment. If you enjoyed the show, I would consider it a personal favor if you would subscribe or leave us a review so that we can get this podcast out to others who want to make an impact and leave a legacy. I hope you'll tune in to our next episode for more leadership insights, strategies, and stories of success and failure. Until then, this is John Tiller, and as always, I'd like to speak an ancient blessing on you as we go. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face toward you and give you